Well, hello, pilgrims. Let me just get my volume here, as usual. There we go. Well, good afternoon. I'm Bruce McDonald, and this is the Talamanca Review. It's 2:45 p.m., Sunday, the 14th of June, which I believe is Father's Day, which I would have forgotten had my son not called me. Today I'm going to tell you about my trip to San Jose, which was eventful, and it was spiritually eventful. And I'm sure people out there who hear this will have had days like this too, so it'll be a commiseration of sorts. So we left Thursday at around 12 o'clock, and I went down the mountain in my vehicle, and then we parked at a neighbor's house on the highway, and then we took a cab to town. Now, I could have had one of my family members, one of my brothers-in-law, drive me, but that would have meant leaving the car with them, and I don't trust them. It's just that simple. I do not trust them. So I drove down myself, and I got myself a taxi. So when you take a taxi, like 70% of the price of the taxi is just coming up the mountain to get you. It's 7.5 kilometers each way, so it's 15 kilometers, but you can't really go much quicker than 20 or 30 kilometers an hour, and in some spots you're pretty much locked in at 20 kilometers an hour. Like there's sometimes the incline on the road is so intense that I can't be out of first gear in my Mitsubishi Montero. I drive a 1990 Mitsubishi Montero. It's black. I think you've seen it in pictures. And I swapped the engine out and put a turbo diesel engine in. I put a lot of money into the vehicle. Now, I've explained why on this show, right? The biggest tax you pay in Costa Rica is what's called the marchama. And that is the annual renewal of your sticker for your car. And the price of the marchama is about 10% the price of your vehicle. So if you have a $100,000 Land Rover in Costa Rica, it's going to cost you $10,000 a year to get your marchamo, to get your sticker, to drive it. Now, that includes your insurance and everything, but it's not like theft or damage or anything like that. You'd have to get private insurance to have that kind of coverage. The marchamo just covers you for like accidents on the road in which somebody else is seriously hurt or killed. And so if somebody gets killed over here, the last I heard, I haven't checked, I heard this about 5 years ago, but it's the family of the deceased gets 25,000 US, and it comes from your insurance, which is covered by the national insurance in Costa Rica. It's a very socialist system. But in this case, it works. Like the more you make, the more you want to flash money in your vehicle, the more you're going to pay. And in a sense, I kind of agree with that instance of socialism. So me and my Scottish genius, and I don't know how many of you really understand the Scottish culture, but your average Scot could teach your average Jew frugality. It's just an art form with the Scots. My mother was really good at it, like, I mean, to the penny, man. And my dad was the same way as well. He was an economist. Very, very strict people with money. And so you're much better off, long story short, you're much better off getting an older vehicle and dumping $5,000 or $10,000 into it, and having a good, reliable vehicle that you can drive all over the country. And an older vehicle, you don't give a shit about like rocks and paint and stuff like that, right? Whereas if you're driving $100,000 Land Rover or Mercedes-Benz 4x4, you wouldn't even want to be coming up these mountain roads, right? So the official Blue Book value of my car is about 730,000 colones, which is about 1,460 US dollars. And so 10% of that is $146, which is what my annual Marchamo is. So that's the genius of the Scots, right? So, I mean, even if you have a $20,000 car, like even if you, and a $20,000 car over here is really only a $10,000 car in North America, because you pay the Marchamo on the Blue Book value of the car in Costa Rica, okay? It's a separate Blue Book. It's not like a universal Blue Book. Now, everything that comes into Costa Rica is hit with a tariff. It's basically, I live in a country that you could almost say is a model for what Trump is trying to do. But I don't know if it can work with a big country like the United States, but it works in Costa Rica. So they can't get income tax out of anybody here. Nobody pays income tax over here unless it directly comes out of your paycheck. And that's only done in like civil service, like firemen, police, school teachers, stuff like that, right? And everybody else, like the whole, this is, by the way, something I've noticed as I've traveled around the world. I noticed the same thing in Taiwan. Most societies in the world operate with a black market in excess of 50% of all the transactions done in that economy. Now, I want you to stop and think about that for a second, because it's an enormous number, and I assure you I'm not being hyperbolic. And we all know what that word is, right? Because I actually defined it about 6 months ago on the Talamanca Review. I am telling you the literal truth, okay? So, like, I gotta ask my mechanic like 5-10 times for a detailed receipt, parts and labor. Everything is, you just get a number. Okay, Bruce, we've prepped your Montero for the Retive, and the Retive is the certification of mechanical fitness. And so they did my Retive, and that was about $1,400. And I said to my wife, well, I'm not just giving the guy $1,400 US dollars. I want to see a detailed list of everything he did. I want to see a normalized receipt. And, you know, I hadn't paid yet, so the guy was kind of compelled to do it. So I got my receipt and everything. But it's not something they like to do over here. It's very strange, you know, and it was the same thing in Taiwan as well. Most societies you go to in the world, the general attitude of the people is the less the government knows, the better. But we first worlders, we Five Eyes countries with all our idiot fucking school teacher Karens, green-haired, lesbian, bisexual, fucking transgender promoting kindergarten teachers, these are the people who enable the state. And the state is never your friend. It's like everybody in the world knows this except first world Westerners. I mean, everybody in the world knows this. You go to Egypt, they know this. You go to Africa, they know this. You go to Mexico, they fucking know. You come to Central America, boy, do they know. You go to South America, they know. They know. You know, I suppose there's some European countries that know, you know, maybe Spain or what have you. But government's never your friend. And everybody's figured this out. And I'd say the countries that, probably my birth country, Canada, is the stupidest country in the world in terms of blind confidence toward government. And I realize I'm veering here. I'm going to get back to my trip to San Jose because it's a good trip. And I have a lot to share with you about spiritual meaning and events. Everywhere you go in the world, everybody knows. It's like that Leonard Cohen song, Everybody knows the dice are loaded, right? Everybody knows it's a loaded game. And when you're living in a civilized country, they act accordingly. Okay? It's like everybody's a criminal, and the number one rule is don't rat anybody out to the government. And nobody does. And I like living in places like this. I don't like living in places like Canada, which is like North Korea or 1979 Soviet Union, where your neighbor's going to rat you out for not using your recycling bin or something. Canada's brutal for that. Like it's got to be like the highest per capita number of rat you out to the government people in the world. I was just reading. You're not even going to believe this. Did I shut the window down? Yeah, I did. Anyways, I was just reading a story from the National Post, which is one of the national newspapers in Canada. And it was a court case that took place in Ottawa. The judge's name was Judge Jennifer McKinnon. And it was a ruling brought down between a husband and a wife who were divorced. And the court awarded the father the sole responsibility of giving counsel on vaccines to the children because the mother was awake and informed and was counseling her children not to get vaccinated. And she was primary custody, right? Primary residence, but the father had visiting rights. And the kids would go and visit their dad and say, hey, mom is telling us that the COVID-19 vaccines are very bad. He takes her to court and he wins. I mean, and this is recent. The ruling just came out last week. And the mother, by legal ruling now, cannot counsel her children on vaccines. That's Canada, folks. And given all the evidence we've seen of vaccine damage, myocarditis, strokes, those horrific alien-like blood clots, turbo cancer, how do you even rationalize a judge that could do something like that? That's Canada, okay? And Canada could use a lot of what they got down here in Central America. So I amble down the mountain in my Montero. And we park at a neighbor's house down at the base of the mountain, which is about 8 kilometers away. You go down, you turn onto the highway, you drive 100 meters, and that's where we park. Lovely people. And then we get on the bus, and the bus is leaving at 2 p.m. And I've booked an Airbnb. So we get on the bus, and I'm all prepped, right? Now, this iPhone 13 I have now, the main utility of which is providing a really good camera for my podcasts. It also gives you the what's called the continuity camera, so it actually follows me. It's right. I call it Cecil B. DeMille podcasting. And I take my new iPad with me as well, and I download a couple of Netflix movies. I downloaded The Town with Ben Affleck and Jeremy Renner and John Hamm as the FBI agent, and the guy there, Telever, I forget what his name is. He plays the cop in Bosco or Bosch. I forget his name. Weebus Telever or something like that. Very weird name. And great movie, and it's a 2-hour movie, and the bus ride's about 2 hours. So I got my headset on, and I don't use my phone a lot outside of Wi-Fi. So I have full Wi-Fi coverage, right? I have 2 Starlink hookups. Costs me about $94 US a month for two Netflix hookups, okay? For 2 Starlink hookups. Places like an internet cafe sometimes with all the nieces and nephews here. They just come and they sit on the front porch and they all zone out and watch their phones for like an hour and a half, 2 hours. I don't think it's really healthy. But I need the computer. I work on the computer. I make my living on the computer. So I'm balls deep into AI now, too. That's another podcast, but I am so digging the AI, it isn't funny. I integrated my AI, Gemini, into a coding environment called Visual Studio Code. And what it allows me to do is it allows me to edit all of the prose on a book I'm doing. And so AI can edit English language beyond anything out there, beyond Grammarly, beyond anything. And the more you use AI, the more it customizes itself to you. So if you notice it's missing something when it does a pass on a 9,000 word chapter, you go, hey, it really missed a lot of apostrophes here. You just rewrite the custom command, and the command is edit for grammar and clarity, and that was the original command. And then when you notice it's missing something, you just open up the command again and you edit it, and you say, also pay close attention to apostrophes. You save it, you run the command again by clicking a button in the IDE, the Independent Developer Environment, which is usually for coding, like Python or Java or C++ or something. And it gets all the apostrophes. And then anytime you find a problem with it, you just add to the command. And it just, because you're using it right in the same environment you're writing in, you don't have to copy and paste to a Gemini window on a web browser. And I integrated it through an API key. Man, this is like the best $24.95 US a month I've ever spent. I mean, I could edit and publish 12 books a year, taking in other people's manuscripts and cleaning them up in a couple weeks and making them like somebody with a PhD wrote them without really changing their voice. It's really kind of astounding what's going on out there now. I don't have the, general artificial intelligence. Is it going to kill us? I happened to see a copy of the new Mission Impossible movie, the sequel to Dead Reckoning. And I think the final installment on Mission Impossible. And it was all about this. It's all about this AI entity that is going to destroy the world. Cryptic foreshadowing there. But from what I'm seeing, I'm loving the AI. And what I'm noticing is now here's the thing. If you're not a master of your craft and you can't catch little mistakes that the AI makes, like if you don't know English grammar independent of the AI, don't use it. If you don't know how to code Java or C++, don't think you can code because you have AI to write the code for you. It will make little mistakes and you won't know what's going on because you don't know how to catch the mistakes. So you still need the super smart person going over everything, right? And I'm super smart in my field, which is general rhetoric and editing and speech and voice and all of the technicalities, nuances, and quite frankly, artistry of communicating through words. Been the passion of my life, really, words and language and mythology and scripture, which I see as an extension of mythology, or vice versa. Mythology is an extension of scripture. It's the use of highly imaginative language to induce the awareness of a reality. Now, I'll bet you that if I would have said that sentence a month ago, before I did the Reality of Imagination podcast, which I'm not done yet, but I needed to do this one-off today because of this freaky trip I just had to San Jose. But had I not done those Reality of Imagination podcasts, you'd have no idea what I just said. Now you understand what I just said, didn't I? Don't you? Scripture is a form of mythology, a form of imaginative writing meant to induce a higher reality. Okay? And that's why all these eggheads who try to go at it rationally miss the point. The Christopher Hitchens, the Richard Dawkins, and all of the people who just do these things and don't understand what they're talking about, right? And by the way, in terms of this kind of writing, scripture, and trying to, through imaginative structure, because God is in an imaginative structure until you realize God. In this context I'm giving you right now, the Quran is actually an unbelievably beautiful book. Okay? Unbelievably beautiful. And I'm telling you that from a language and a scripture perspective. I cannot say what's going on with the Pakistani rape gangs in London, but they don't seem very Muslim to me. I don't understand why other Muslim groups are not taking issue with that, but that's another story. I'm just trying to separate the source material from the general expression of the culture in the early 21st century. But the source material is phenomenal. What came through Muhammad is phenomenal. Don't for a moment think it isn't, okay? And don't let anybody convince you that these people are crazy or fanatical or anything like that. I guess I veered into Iran. It's supposed to be no politics, this podcast, but it's kind of hard when you're on the brink of nuclear war, right? All right, so I get on the bus and I watch The Town. Great movie. It's about a 2-hour bus ride. It's through this national park, and I got to cross a couple of provincial lines. So I leave my province, Limon. I go into another province called Cartago, and then I go into San Jose province. And San Jose, I guess, is about 1 million people. Probably a fifth of the population of this country lives just in San Jose, which is kind of amazing when you think about it. It's a typical Central American country, or city, sorry. There's nothing too flashy about the cities. They've gotten into a lot of condo development now. I think I showed you a note on where I was staying. Creepy place, man. If a building can be soulless, this building was soulless. It was like fucking One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, man. Even my wife picked up on it. Like, the vibe in that place was just so inhuman, right? You walk in the front door, you hold your phone or your iPad up to a, those, whatever you call them, those graphic codes, right? The Q code or whatever, and you automatically have your internet connection. And so it was very clean and nice, and I kind of like hotels though, where you go out for the night, you get off the hotel, you say hello to the concierge guy, you got someone to talk to. Is there a good restaurant around here? And everywhere you go now, things are getting less and less human, and the telephone or the tablet, but mainly the telephone, is taking the place of everything. So what do you do when you want a restaurant recommendation and you're in a condo building that was built specifically for Airbnb stays, and there's no concierge? Well, you go on your phone and you geolocate yourself on Google Maps or Apple Maps, and in the search field you go restaurants, and you hit a button that says search nearby, and boom, all the restaurants pop up. But it's so inhuman. Like, there's no human interaction, right? And I think for the 2 nights we were there, like, I saw a couple other people there, and I heard a sound or two coming from different doorways. It was 3 stories, the building. But I can't really attest to other people being there. Strange, man. Strange. And you go through the door with a key code, and once you pay, they give you the key code. And the moment you check out, the key code gets digitally changed remotely. They don't even have to come and show up and do it. So from the day of your checkout, if you forget anything in your room, you can't get back in after 11 a.m. Because you go to hit that key code, it's not going to open the door. And the key code is the same for the outside door and your room door. Strange, man. Like very, very strange. So the trip through the mountain is nice on the bus. The bus drivers here are just phenomenal chauffeurs, right? Like they know how to drive, man. No fooling around. They do it all the time. There's very few bus accidents in this country just because they're so good at what they do. And we pull into what's called the Gran Terminal Caribe, and that is the bus terminal for buses coming in from the Caribbean coast, which is where I live. The province of Limon is also referred to as the Caribbean coast. And the most popular beach town is called Puerto Viejo, and they have these huge neo-hippie things a couple times a year where like 500,000 people show up. It's insane. I think they're all dropping ecstasy and dancing on the beach and uniform fabrics, like all cotton fabrics or something. Fucking weird. Who am I to judge, right? I mean, a lot of people could say I'm weird. Who am I to judge? I'm going to take that medicine. So the moment we pull into the bus station, and I've been using my phone the whole trip. I've been on Google Maps. I've been like, okay, we got another 20 minutes till we're in the city, blah, blah, blah. Everything's going well, blah, blah, blah. No problems here, blah, blah, blah. And the moment we pull into the bus station, all the bars on my cellular service go away. Now, the phone is critical at this point, right? Because you use it for Uber. And, I have the name of the place I'm staying and I have it on Google Maps. But holding up a little phone with a saved map and showing it to a cab driver, a red cab driver in San Jose, it's going to take them 15 minutes to figure that shit out. They're not rocket scientists, right? Whereas Uber, the way that Airbnb works is they give you a pin to drop right into Uber. So the whole adventure is pivoting off my cell phone. And the moment we get into San Jose, my cellular service goes out. I look at my wife, I go, this is fucking weird. She says, what do you mean? I said, is your phone working? She says, yeah. I said, mine just crapped out. So my wife does her Spanish thing and we get a cab. Cab's about $8 US to go to where we're staying. Nice part of San Jose. It's called Sabana Sur. And we get there, and then I can't open the door. And we got to contact the lady, but my phone's not working. Holy shit. So my wife ends up contacting the lady. I give her the email or the phone number, and she says exactly how to open the door. It was the way I was using the pound key. And you got to listen for little sounds that, okay, now, boom. And if you miss it by like a couple seconds, the lock goes back in and you can't get in. So I needed that explained to me. So we get into the place. I log into the Wi-Fi. And the place was extremely uncomfortable. It was designed in a way, the way like McDonald's restaurants are designed. They're designed to allow you a place to semi-comfortably consume food in 10 minutes or less and get the hell out of there. Right? That's why they have those plastic chairs. That's why they make McDonald's so uncomfortable. They don't want you hanging around there for hours and hours and hours. And that's why when you go someplace else, like a donut shop, the chairs are more comfortable because they know people go to coffee shops to hang out for a while. Maybe use the internet on their cell phone or something like that. So I look up this problem. I say, okay, iPhone 13 mini, my cellular data disappeared and I can't bring it back. And they give you a bunch of suggestions like put it on airplane mode for a second and then switch airplane mode off and maybe that'll bring it back. I try that. And the thing is, I can see that the cellular service is working because when I do the airplane mode and turn the airplane mode off, I briefly, all my messages come in for about 5 seconds and then I lose the cell service again. Really weird. So this is the Thursday, and then at 11 a.m. the next day, I have my appointment at the main police station in San Jose, which is where you go to get fingerprinted for criminal background checks in other countries. So we get there, and another thing I needed my phone for was the translator. Right? Now, I speak Spanish and everything, but every once in a while you're going to hear a word you don't know. Okay? So the lady at the desk is saying, you got to go to the bank and buy a timber. Now, my wife knows what this means, but she can't quite convey what the meaning is to me. And I'm starting to lose my shit here. And you don't want to lose your shit in a police station, right? And I'm going, holy fuck, man. Like, I've had this phone for like this iPhone 13 for about, I don't know, 3 years now. You know, I think I got it when it just came out. Yeah, 3 years. Never had a problem with it. It worked like a trooper all the time I was in El Salvador. I used it for everything. Boom, boom, boom. So I don't know what a timber is, but it was a kind of a stamp, and you can only buy them at the bank. And then, you know, my wife's a country woman. She, you know, the city's as confusing for her as it is for me, right? In this part of the world. So we go to 3 different banks, get this huge runaround, takes an hour. I've already missed my appointment at 11 a.m. We go back to the police station. She says, oh my God, it's right over there. And my wife's really embarrassed. We go back. I pay for this thing called a timber. It's 5 colones. 500 colones is $1. So $5 US. So 5 colones is a penny. But I got to wait in a bank line for 30 minutes to get this thing that's worth a penny. Fucking unbelievable. But it's some sort of legal certification thing in the Costa Rican system. So then we bop around for a while. My wife does some shopping. I promised her she could, you know, buy some new clothes in San Jose. That's what she likes to do. There's nowhere really to shop where we live. I mean, you can get basic stuff, you know, but when you want to do shopping, you either go to Panama or you go to San Jose. So I went around for the day with my wife in San Jose, and she bought like 3 pairs of jeans and 2 dresses to go to church. Lovely. The dresses are quite lovely, actually. We go home. And, I missed a part. So I looked up on my iPad, well, what's going on here? You know? And I'm looking at Reddit forums and everything, and everybody's talking about this same problem on iPhone 13s, and they're talking about an iOS upgrade 17.4. I'm already on 18.01, so I know, but all the symptoms of what they're describing are exactly what I'm experiencing. And I'm going, this is just completely fucked, man. This is just completely fucked. And like I said, like I have not had more need for my phone since I was in El Salvador a year ago, or like 10 months ago. Okay? That's how critical my phone was to this trip. And you can't help but notice the timing. It craps out the moment we pull into the bus terminal in San Jose. You can't make this shit up. There's absolutely no technological reason for this. Okay? You see where I'm going. Bear with me. It just gets weirder. So the iPad is telling me that this is like, this is a trade-in problem, right? That if you still have Apple Care and you take your iPhone 13 in, they'll give you a new iPhone 13 because they can't correct this problem and they can't properly tell you what it is. They're saying it's software. They're saying it's like super weird. Everything else works perfectly on the phone. Through Wi-Fi, I can make my WhatsApp calls. I can do everything, right? Microsoft Teams calls, video works fine. I'm on the video right now for this podcast. But the cellular service craps out. And so I top it up. At first I think, well, I might be out of balance. So I put on another $10. I have a pay-as-you-go card. I do this at a service kiosk inside the bus station. And this is the guy who first tells me that, oh, you just put it on airplane mode and then take it off airplane mode and that'll reboot your cell service. And it worked. And I thought, okay, this is solved. And I don't look at my phone all the time, so I put it in my backpack and I didn't look at it. I go to use it again when we went to get the Uber, and again, it's not working. I'm going, holy shit, I don't know what's going on here. And my wife is like, well, just take it easy. Don't get yourself all worked up. And I said, okay, all right, I'll take it easy. I will not get myself all worked up. But I got to tell you, it was fucking frustrating, man. Fucking frustrating. So we get home, and this is like the Thursday night. So we go for the police. We go to the police station, and then I must have walked 3 kilometers to 3 different banks, and everybody is telling me some bullshit story. My wife can't understand it. I can't understand it. She's a native speaker. I'm nearly fluent in Spanish, and so we have to go back. And the lady, the desk sergeant, the lady at the station, she explained herself. She looks at my wife and she said, "Did you forget the name of the timber I told you?" And my wife goes, "Yeah, I did." And so she writes it down. And she says, "That's the bank you got to go to." So we go to that bank, 1 cent, 30 minutes in line to get this one. I'm giving them a $20 bill to pay 1 cent because I don't even have any change. We go back, and then I get my fingerprints done. And that was kind of a cool experience, right? It's like boom, 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 boom. And they have to register all the information in their computer. They took a photo of my tattoo. I'm in the Costa Rican system now. If they ever find my cadaver with no teeth, they'll be able to identify me. And but the lady can't find our community. And there's another male cop listening to this. I think he's security at this clerical part. He comes over, he goes, "I know where he lives." And he starts telling the lady, and she's looking up on her computer, which has all what are called the pueblos and the barrios, which are the communities associated with a municipality. Because there's no home addresses in Costa Rica. I don't know if you know that. When I get something mailed to me over here, I get it mailed to the post office and I go pick it up. There's no mailing addresses over here. There's postal codes, but, So the guy is telling her, no, his community really exists. I know where it is. It's called Dos Ramas, which means 2 branches. And she's saying that she can't find it on the computer. So she literally had to invent or code it into the system in case anybody else ever goes there looking for that. And then the male cop came talk to me afterwards, or in front of the female desk sergeant who was processing me. He goes, "How did you find yourself to a place like this? This is like really off the beaten path. Most Costa Ricans wouldn't go there to live." I said, "Yeah, I found a hectare of land up there. I moved up, found my wife, got married. I've been living there 8 years now." He goes, "You're not frightened?" I said, "That's the safest place in the world, man. I feel more nervous when I'm here in San Jose." And they both crack up because they're cops. They're federal police. They put it together that I live on the mountain. We're the only 2 narco traffickers in Costa Rican history to have Drug Enforcement Agency international warrants issued against them are my neighbors. And these cops are looking at me like, holy shit, like you live here? And I'm going, yeah, you got to come and see it. It's a beautiful community. And the female in her 60s, she's saying, "Well, what's it like there?" I said, "Well," I'm trying to think of ways to describe. I said, "It's the jungle. There's some clearings where people keep animals." I said, "You can't keep goats and you can't keep sheep." I've seen neighbors try to do it. I've seen neighbors buy 30 sheep and I've seen neighbors buy 30 goats, start a little goat or sheep operation, and they're all gone in 6 months because the jaguars come in and pick them off at night. And the lady's just like, I mean, she may as well have been a Karen from, I don't know, Knoxville, Tennessee or something, living in the suburbs. She could, and this is her country. She says you got a lot of, they call them tigers. You got, usted tiene mucho tigres a tu lugar. You have a lot of jaguars at your location. I said, yeah, quite a number actually. And I said, you don't ever see them, but after heavy rains, if you walk a little bit, you can see their paw prints crossing in the mud. She goes, oh my God. Anyways, I got my fingerprints and that's all done. I got to mail them to Canada or courier them because Canada's on the cusp of a mail strike now, which is another shit show. So then we go home that night. So that's the Friday night. So today is Saturday. We came back on the bus. We caught the 9 o'clock bus this morning. So we want to eat last night, and I have Wi-Fi on my cell phone. So I pop open Uber Eats, and I get a beautiful seafood plate for my wife. My wife loves seafood. And I get myself like a veggie burger. And it's like $27 US. Now, I don't know how this happened, okay? Because my phone is supposed to geolocate me. The food was delivered to the hotel I stayed at in San Salvador, El Salvador. Like, do you know how when you open Uber, it knows exactly where you are? Well, I just assumed it was the same thing with Uber Eats. And it is. When you look into the technology, it is the same thing with Uber Eats. But just like I cannot explain how the cell service went out right when we pull into the bus station, I can't explain why our food got delivered to El Salvador. So I'm communicating with the driver through the text service in Spanish. He's outside my hotel, Hotel Tazumal, in central San Salvador, the capital city of El Salvador, like 2 or 3 countries up, an hour by plane. And I give him the PIN number, and I give him a 10% tip, and I said, just give the food to the front desk staff, man. I'm in Costa Rica. He goes, how did this happen? And I'm like, fucked if I know, or the Spanish equivalent of that. You can't make this shit up. I dare you to even try, man. So we get up really early today, and we go to the bus station, and we're there at like 6:30 in the morning, and there's a bus at 7 and a bus at 8, and they're both sold out, and so we can only get the ticket for 9 o'clock. Oh, and usually we buy our tickets digitally. So my sister-in-law, Yamilet, she buys our tickets and then sends them to us by WhatsApp. I can't show you, it's on my phone, but... And then you just... The bus driver, when you go to get on the bus, he just scans your phone. Everything's phones now, even in Central America. My wife can't get her Simpi working, which is the way you transfer money in Costa Rica to transfer her sister the money to buy the bus tickets. It's only like $12, but transfer the money, right? So there's another oddity, and my wife is like, I don't understand this. Simpi always works. And I'm like, wow, that is weird. That is very, very weird. And but that's just another one of the oddities. And then we have this thing going on with Uber Eats. And then the last thing was this morning. So Friday, I said, okay, just as a last-ditch effort, I know there's an Apple store like within a 15-minute walk of the police station where I got my fingerprints. Now remember, when you have Google Maps and everything, you can just put earbuds in, and it'll tell you in English, walk 100 meters, turn left. You get everywhere you want to go. It's all on your phone. And remember, my cell service went out the moment we pulled into the bus station. Almost as though some like CIA satellite knocked it out. I'm not saying that's what happened. It isn't what happened. But the timing of it was that conspicuous, okay? So I got to try to remember where this Mac store is. So I go and I get pretty close and I go and I ask some guy, I said, ¿Usted conozco dónde está la tienda de Mac, Apple, la marca Mac? Do you know where the Mac store is, the Apple mark, the Apple brand? Do you know where this is? He says, oh yeah, it's right over there. And he just points and it's like 100 meters. So I go in the Apple store. The technical guy's not there. He's on his break. They said, wait 10 minutes. So my wife and I go out, walk around the central area there. It's quite lovely. We'll go back in 10 minutes. So I hand the phone to the technical guy. Nice young guy, looked about 21 years old. Cracks my phone open. He goes, which of these SIM cards do you use? I said, that one there, my phone number, 506-608-9033. Right? There's 8 numbers in a phone number in Costa Rica, and the area code is 3 numbers, 506. And underneath it, there was an eSIM I got. And I don't know if you guys know what an eSIM is. It's a digital SIM card. And it was interfering. Now, I've had that eSIM forever up here, and I never had a problem with it. He just goes, do you use this one anymore? I go, no. He goes, you got no balance on this eSIM? I said, no. Boop, boop. He cancels it. My cell service comes back. He hands me my phone. I go, how much for that? He goes, get out of here. It's free. And he's laughing at me, and the whole staff are laughing at me. I look like an idiot. So that was the cell problem solved, right? So we're back in the game. Because we wanted to do some things. We don't get off the mountain that often. I wanted to go see a movie. Ballerina, the new John Wick spinoff, is in cinemas. The new Mission Impossible is in the cinema. I've watched a pirated version already, but I don't mind giving Tom Cruise my money for the IMAX experience. And it's a phenomenal movie, by the way, and it meant to be seen in a theater. And it's stunning entertainment. Okay? It's not art, but it is stunning entertainment. You're on the edge of your seat. It's like the Barnum Bailey Circus. And this may be the best Mission Impossible yet of the series, and I think there's 7 of them. I say to my wife, well, we're back in the game now, man. My cell phone's working and everything. We can go to a movie tonight. Well, we ended up just staying in, right? And it was after my cell phone got working that I did the order for Uber Eats that got delivered to San Salvador. How that happened, I don't know. So we get up the next day and we pack up. My wife's up at like 5. She gets me up at 6:30. I shower. Boom, 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 boom. We're out the door. We're at the bus station for about 6:45, and we want to get the 7 a.m. bus, and it's full. And as I told you, and then the 8 o'clock bus is full, and so we end up getting the 9 o'clock bus, but it's only 7 o'clock in the morning, and the Uber ride was $4. I said, well, our official checkout's not till 11 a.m. Why don't we just go back to the Airbnb? My wife goes, that's a great idea. Go back to the Airbnb, pop on Netflix on like the 70-inch TV. And that's one thing they do in these Airbnbs is they give you kick-ass TVs, right? And I'll watch TV for an hour, make a pot of coffee because there's a little kitchenette in there. Me and my wife shoot the shit, hang out. And then it's time to go. And I leave it to I timed everything coming back from going to the bus station, from the Airbnb, and from the bus station back to the Airbnb, I timed it. It was about 10 minutes. So my thinking was to leave a little bit early, like around 8:15, maybe 8:25, call the Uber, and then it might take 5 or 7 minutes for the Uber to get there, and if there's no traffic, it'll be 10 minutes, just like it was to get back at 7 a.m., and we'll be on time for the 9 o'clock bus. So I call the Uber at like 8:15. Guess what comes back? This transaction has been declined. Please choose another payment method. I get an email from my bank, fraud warning. You got to be fucking kidding me. The only way to get out of the fraud warning is to return a text message just with the letter Y. Was this you who made this transaction? You just type in a Y and send the text message back. Here's the problem. The number on file with my bank account is the Skype number that just went out of service May 5th. I mean, what are the fucking chances, right? So I'm going to my wife. I said, we can't use Uber. And she's like, why? And I said, I can't explain all the technical reasons. We can't, I just got a fraud notice. They've shut down my fucking bank account. Now we got this bus to catch, and it's like a real life Mission Impossible. So we're schlepping down the street looking for a red cab to flag down. Okay? And then my wife says, doesn't Uber have the option to pay cash? I said, I don't know. I crack it open on the sidewalk. It says pay cash. Okay? I said, oh yeah. So I call an Uber. And it says 7 minutes. And then after about 3 or 4 minutes, it says unavailable, looking for a new driver. And at that exact moment, and by this time it's about 8:35, 8:37. So we have like 23 minutes to get to the bus station. And if the traffic is thick, we're not going to make it. So I just take the red cab. So I get charged for the Uber because I didn't cancel it. It's only like $1.50 or something. We get there with the red cab, and we get on the bus, and we come home. So what does it all mean? Why were all these obstacles put in my path? Well, here's what it is. And those of you who are aware will know about this. It was the nature of what I was doing, which was getting my fingerprints, establishing my residency in Costa Rica, which was a huge life change. Like in another 2 years, I'm going to have Costa Rican citizenship. I'm going to have dual citizenship, Costa Rica and Canada, which is a huge deal because 3 out of 4 job offers I get now are in Costa Rica off of LinkedIn. The market for a senior technical writer who can lead a crew of 3 or 4 junior writers in English is through the roof here. I've had American headhunters call me and ask me if I'd be willing to work in San Jose, if I could be in the office 2 days a week. And and then when they find out I don't have my residency, I said, well, they can't work with me. So when something really good is going to happen in your life, you're going to have to go through some karmic hoops. And you can't, my wife's right, you can't get frustrated. But this is what I went through. And it's one of these little spiritual cycles that you'll notice in life if you're really aware. And if you take it the wrong way, you'll think you're being attacked. Because like I said, the timing is unbelievable. And like losing that Uber Eats order, I mean, we were famished. We walked about 10 kilometers all through the city that day, shopping and going to the banks to get the timber, all the shit we did. We're really looking forward to a nice meal. Boom, gets delivered to El Salvador. And sometimes when I talk about what I think is going on, my wife thinks I'm superstitious. Even my wife, okay? She's a very rational person. Compared to a North American, no. She's like, compared to the average Westerner, an Australian, a Canadian, or an American, she would seem like almost like a witch doctor to you guys, her level of superstition. But my comprehension of the hidden reality is beyond what she finds copacetic. And sometimes, you're just imagining it, is what she'll say. And I looked at her when we got home. I said, what do you make of this sequence of events? Like the cellular service going out, the fraud alert when we've got like 25 minutes to get to the bus station, the Uber Eats, and you're not being able to transfer any money to your sister to buy the tickets digitally. She goes, yeah, it really was a bit weird. It was like a whole bunch of stuff just stacked up against you. And it happens also when you change environments. It's like like a kind of like a karmic residue or a kind of an initiation into the spiritual entities and principalities of a location you're not familiar with. Super weird. Anyways, I'm gonna call this Bruce's Big 2 Days in San Jose, and that's my podcast today. I promise The Reality of Imagination, Part 4, tomorrow. Peace out.